Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the April 14th, 2025 meeting of the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors to order. I will note that the board did meet in executive session at 6 p.m. where we discussed the status of 2 zoning cases with regard to litigation matters, as well as personnel pay raise related to personnel issues. With that being said, Mr. Neese, please call the roll.
Mr. Altieri.
Here.
Ms. Roberts Lightcap.
Here.
Ms. Chandless. Kathy, you're muted. Mr. Russo.
Here.
Mr. San Francesco.
Here.
Kathy, do you hear me? You're still muted.
So we're going to continue to move forward. Sorry about that. Because we have a quorum. I will note for the record that our township manager is here, our solicitor is here, and our engineer is here as well. With that being said, we'll move down to section 4, moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. And we will stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Section 5 is the agenda. 5.1, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 6, public comment for agenda items only. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide any public comment for an agenda item, please go up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. I'll give one last call for agenda items.
Hi, can you hear me now? Sorry, it's Kathy. I think I fixed the problem.
We can hear you.
All right, thanks.
I will note that Supervisor Chandless joined the meeting at 7:11. All right, section 7, minutes, 7.1. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the March 24th, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 8, presentations. We have exciting presentations this evening, and we're going to start off with William Lain for his Eagle Scout presentation. So Mr. Lain, when you're ready, just go up to that podium. We'll make sure the microphone's on. And the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, everyone. As you can see, I'm presenting my Eagle project, my proposed Eagle project, which will be tree tables and potting trees, which is for the Newtown Township Public Works and Tree Nursery. Can we get the next slide, please? The goal of the project, the overall goal is to grow trees until they are mature enough to give out to the residents of the township. And the goal of this project specifically is to make a place for the township to grow those saplings and to make all the saplings portable. So the project has 2 main parts, and that would be to make the actual tables and then to put all the tree saplings that are growing into bigger pots that will be placed into the tables. Next slide, please. Like I said, the first part would be constructing 3 2 by 3 inch or 2 foot 3 inch by 4 foot 3 inch tables, each with a capacity of 18 pots. The tables will allow for the saplings to be moved between the nursery and the side of the public works building and are more ideal for the trees to receive adequate sunlight. The tables will have a metal mesh top that will allow for necessary drainage. The tables will be moved between the tree nursery area, which is circle 1, and the side of the public works building, which is circle 2. Thank you for your time. Do we have any questions?
I hope all the other presenters take note of how succinct and informative that was. Very well. We'll give you Eagle Scout points for that right now.
I just want to ask one question. So I assume you've already worked all this out with George?
Yes.
And when are you gonna start this project?
That depends on the Eagle board and if they make any changes, but right now the current date is looking at the weekend of May 14th.
Okay, great, thank you.
The only thing I'll add is if you need help with anything, this board loves to go to those events. Supervisor Robert Lightcap has a son who's an Eagle Scout. I know two Eagle Scouts. Mr. Neese is an Eagle Scout. So however we can help. Supervisor San Francisco doesn't really know how to use a hammer too well, so we'll teach him that lesson.
That's not.
It's all about learning. No, but good luck and thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you very much.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Zahner, now it's your turn.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Zahner, as you probably guys already know, and I plan on planting trees at Drexel Lodge Park. So I'm planting trees at Drexel Lodge Park. There's about 8 to 10 that I plan on planting. And it's normally by the gravel parking lot in the middle section, the back section of the gravel parking lot, and the triangle of the parking lot. And also I remember hearing from Mr. Sheritz that they have 2 sycamores, which I'm also planting by the front of the Drexel Lodge Park. This would help the local environment by this will help the local environment by giving it oxygen in the air, getting up all the water so nothing erodes away and the park can look better. And I'm planning on putting signs, 2 to 3 signs in front of these trees to give history about the trees, where they came from, how they were made, what's the life expectancy, and a bunch of other things. Project details. The location is in Drexel Lodge Park. Most of them are by the gravel parking lot, but 2 of them are by the entrance. I'm planning on doing this some like May-ish, early June. And right now the project phases is planning out what I need to do, talking with the arborist and township, having a fundraiser for this campaign, planting the trees specifically, the long-term care of like watering the trees, making sure they stay alive and making sure they sustainable. And then the last part is the report of the presentation. Project resources. So there will be about 5 to 10, not 5 to 10, 5 to 8 adults, which hopefully Mr. Sheritz and Mr. Heschbeck is there, which I've been talking to the more I've been going through this project. There'll hopefully be about 10 to 15 volunteers, which I can get from Boy Scout members, family, or friends. And the materials I need will be 10 trees, water bags for those trees, safety nets to go around the trees, and signs like metal or wood for signs. The supplies I'll need is probably food and water for those people. The tools, most of the tools are going to be provided by people of the Boy Scouts and family members that have tools lying around, stuff like gloves, eyewears, wheelbarrows, shovels, and etc. Project safety. In this project, there can be a lot of things that can go wrong. So for project safety, we would normally have things that would been for age appropriate. So like anyone could use rakes or shovels, but only things like augers older than 18 can be able to use, making sure that is fine. Tools are appropriate, making sure that people do not mess around with them, play with them, or can hurt anyone else other than themselves or themselves. We always make sure that everyone's using gloves, eyewear, and proper clothing. We'll make sure the weather is sustainable, so it's not heavy rain to make everything mud, making sure it's not thunderstorming or anything like that. And there'll always be a first aid kit by. So the project estimate cost is roughly around $2,000, $1,500 of the material and $500 of the supplies. We will normally have a GoFundMe page. Well, we'll try to have a GoFundMe page to try and get it more money for this. And we will go to my family members, go to friends, and ask for donations, donation of trees, donation of monies for the trees, donation of water bags, and etc. And that is it. Do you have any questions?
Another succinct and informative presentation. So the Eagle Scouts are doing, potential Eagle Scouts are doing great on that aspect. Do you have an idea when you think you're gonna do this?
Do I have an idea? I'm hoping anytime in May, well, not anytime, but the late May, early June, because of early May, I have a bunch of things going on. Early June, because middle of June, I'm actually going to Resica Falls and working up there.
Nice, awesome.
Great.
That's good. Any questions from the board?
Nope, just, to the chairman's point, just let us know when you guys are gonna be out there. We're happy to come out and, or, help you guys with volunteers. But just let us know when you are, definitely, just like George will tell us too, so.
I will say it is, this board has been to many Eagle Scout Court of Honors for your troop. And I'll just say it's been a fun kind of full circle moment. I mean, I remember both of you guys when you were younger, I recognized the faces. So it's exciting and fun to now see you guys go through the final leg. And we look forward to being there for both your Eagle Scout Court of Honor. So good luck to everyone. All right.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you very much. Appreciate it. All right, Janet, I think they warmed up the board for you. We're gonna go down to 8.3 Birdtown, Pennsylvania by EAC extraordinaire, Ms. Janet Crevenis.
Yes, thank you. I'll introduce myself. Janet Grafenis. I live at 23 Paper Mill Road here in Newtown Square. I'm on the Environmental Advisory Council, and I'm co-leader of our Newtown Township Birdtown Committee. And also, I'm secretary on the board of Birdtown, Pennsylvania. It's my pleasure to share Newtown Township's Birdtown, Pennsylvania 2024 annual review with the Board of Supervisors. This review encompassed sustainable practices across 5 strategies: municipal actions, working with youth, community involvement, collaboration and partnerships, and advocacy. Having compiled this information from multiple township boards and committees, as well as public works, businesses, trusts, nonprofit organizations, residents, and neighboring bird towns, it's clear that we have supported the Birdtown mission to promote community-based conservation actions to create a healthier, more sustainable environment for birds, wildlife, and people. The Lights Out proclamation passed by the Board of Supervisors prior to last year's spring migration was noteworthy for alerting our residents to the disorientation that lights cause to birds flying at night. We have included the flyer again this year in the e-newsletter. Our municipal actions included planting 323 trees, that was provided by George, and protecting 150 acres of municipal property for wildlife. Our submitted report documented the completion of activities that totaled 85 points. These activities have been conservatively estimated to have involved 1,132 participants who contributed 1,357 volunteer hours, thus maintaining our gold certification for 3 years in a row. May I add that Newtown Township's Birdtown is also part of Valley Forge Audubon Clutch, which helps to coordinate activities across contiguous townships that are part of the Atlantic Flyway. And we are part of a growing Birdtown, Pennsylvania, which now has 79 members, townships, from southeast Pennsylvania to Allentown, out to Harrisburg, and to Pittsburgh, and continues to grow. The annual Birdtown Summit reported the Birdtowns logged almost 28,000 volunteer hours, impacting close to 900,000 community members. I'm proud that Newtown Township is a part of this growing conservation initiative. On behalf of Birdtown, PA, I'd like to thank our township, our Board of Supervisors, and our many committee and partnerships for their continued support. And may I also express my appreciation to Harry Bowen from Pegasus Printing for printing our certificate without charge. And also I'd like to thank our committee members, Cindy Mohala, our co-leader, Cheryl Grasso, and Terry McCarthy. I now have for our wall another certificate to go along with our other ones. And now is a good time for a photo.
Oh, Janet, it is ever.
I'd like to ask our other committee members to come up. Cheryl? Cindy?
So Janet, I will say, so Janet and I were texting, I guess, a couple weeks ago. I ended up getting a bluebird box from the Willistown Conservation Trust. I have I think of myself, Supervisor Roberts Lakecap has brought me to a lot of the bird walks. So, I think of myself as an amateur birder. I have a great habitat for bluebirds with a bunch of white pines in the backyard. I will report that after 4 weeks of my bird box, I have not a single sign of a nest. I keep hoping every day I'm out there looking, but I haven't had anything yet.
Toxic environment.
Sometimes it takes the second half of the breeding season,
Yeah,
because bluebirds can have more than one nestlings during the summer or the
Yeah.
breeding season. We are in the process, Birdtown is, of distributing 15 bird houses that were created by a scout earlier this year. And we have put them to, we've attached them to poles so that we can easily put them into the yards of people who are have applied for them. Cindy and I have been around to yards to make sure that they're going into positions that are conducive to bluebird populations that won't be attacked by wrens, hopefully, or sparrows. But so it's an educational opportunity for us to not only help with our birds, but to also to inform our residents about Birdtown and what Birdtown does.
and then one thing I would add is for those bird boxes that you're distributing,
Yes,
Cindy Mahalo, also a member of the AC,
yes.
told me about the Nest Watch. So that, I think that was a big theme this year, is to be a citizen scientist, if you will. So my Nest Watch app is not very active. It keeps saying no nest. And so I've got a giant X for 3 weeks straight now. But I'm sure you guys have it included already, but I would just say, for those individuals that you're giving those bird boxes to, just make sure they know about that app too, because it is actually interesting. The way that the app is set up and how all that information is sent off
Yes.
to kind of a natural deposit, central depository, excuse me. So,
Yes, and speaking of Nest Watch, here is our Birdtown citizen science. There are many other opportunities to do citizen science. Pass on.
perfect. All right, any other questions for Janet?
Janet, do you leave these, like this information in the library, because we have a lot of young people that
Well, we
use and
can,
young
we can,
families? I would suggest leaving this in there, and maybe, if you have a poster or something that you can put up there or on the board, because there are so many young people.
Birdtown on it like that.
Yeah, there are so many young people that come in and young
Uh-huh.
families, so this would be a good thing to get them started.
So also, when we do any table event, this information is out there.
Yep, yeah, I know, I've seen you do that, so I just
Okay.
thought about the library, so.
Great,
Thanks, Janet.
thank you.
All right, now we'll move down to section 9, the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, request for proposal presentations. I believe the first one is going to be CH planning. The floor is yours.
Yes, hello. Hello, my name's Barb, and this is Ben, and we're from CH Planning. And we have, oh, next slide. I guess I should be telling you this next slide. Charnel Hicks is the principal of CH Planning, and she's been in the business for over 25 years, and it's still going strong. I am Barb Kelly, and I'm a former township manager and economic development professional, certified in economic development and community engagement process. And we have a great team that are trained in planning, zoning, and they're trainers, and also proven civic engagement specialist experience. I attended Stephen's meeting, and we will deliver a complimentary action comprehensive and strategic plan, and we will identify the funding plans for infrastructure, open space, economic development needs, and we'll consider the values of housing and preservation, recreation, history, and culture. CH Planning has proven experience in providing award-winning plans, and we will deliver action-oriented, realistic plans and timelines. The key to the success is board guidance and engagement. And crucial ingredients are all stakeholder engagements, which is internal, external, and a lot of different stakeholders that are involved in the township. Also, we have developed creative community engagement methods. We've public meetings, surveys, interviews, focus groups, commission meetings, but we also created different ones. We have they're called chats on Zoom because we get a different audience from that. We do QR cards on lawn signs, if you can allow that, and pop-up events, and we'll explain that in a minute. And we also use Rotary, business, and schools, and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and a lot of different other types of volunteers. How do we kick this off? We meet with the board to identify their expectations. And basically what they do is they with us, create an executive committee. And that's identified by the board. We want to make sure the board is involved in the entire process, especially with the staff and volunteer leadership too. And we will identify specific objectives and expectations, and we'll follow that all the way through to plan adoption. Next slide. Very good with slides. We will start giving a geographic analysis, which is the existing plans. That's the zoning, demographics, existing plans, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. On the left-hand bottom corner is the zoning map for Newtown Square. So we just started our process already because I know that we want to get started. This graph basically explains and identifies board participation throughout the process. And we will have comprehensive planning meetings, strategic meetings, and also combine strategic and planning meetings together toward the middle and end to make sure that they are complementary and make sure that they are they meet the expectation of the executive team and also the board. Here are some of the pop-up events we talked about earlier with the community engagement practices. You have a Square Tavern ceremonial signing and dedication event coming up. So we thought that would be a really good idea for opportunity for getting community engagement in the committees, in their surveys, and also getting idea what their values are. Because their values of all the stakeholders are important to make this plan successful. This graph basically shows the public engagement throughout the process. Also, we'll be attending committee meetings, commission meetings, and also updating the point of contact. I'm assuming the township manager, but I'm not sure. It depends on the township manager and the board, the point of contact. And also we'll be giving that point of contact updates, and they will hopefully give the supervisors updates on the entire process. But remember, the board's involved in all the different processes because you can attend the focus groups, you can attend a lot of different meetings that we have scheduled. We'll make sure that you get a copy of the schedule, and I'm sure I'll be working with, our team will be working with Stephen. Here are some examples of we have experience in creating successful strategic plans, comprehensive plans, vision plans, commercial corridor plans, and we'll create graphic-rich design plans, which is appealing for all the audiences because we do want this plan to be action-oriented and read by and make decisions based on these plans. So it won't be sitting on a shelf. So we want to make it appealing to everybody. Next slide. This other slide shows the working with the board, staff, and volunteer leadership to deliver a well-designed, action-oriented plan with evaluations, timelines, and also all the way through the adoption process. So we'll try to do, what we're going to do is going to provide you really good timelines and good follow-up evaluation tools. So in the future, the next 4 years, then 3 years, then 3 years, because I think Stephen stated that he wanted a 4-year, 3-year, and 3-year, which we want to do. So then you're updating it and you're actually making some evaluation adjustments. Yes. Yes, and the comprehensive plan and the strategic plan will be very complementary. They will, the strategic plan will be the overall vision and the comp plan will be really the objectives and implementations plans to do. Okay, and that's, I think, why CH planning? I think, and Ben thinks, and I think a lot of people think, that we're experienced in developing executable, action-oriented, engaging plans and timelines. And we really are. For 25 years, we've gotten some awards on some of our plans, and we're certified in community engagement. We love community engagement. It's really a pleasure. Award-winning plans and evaluation methods. We meet and exceed board expectations for most of our projects. And we consider community values and history for future planning. It's important that we get the values of the community, the heart and soul process, and we'll explain that in some of our meetings. The heart and soul process really gathers a lot of stakeholders' values and the history and the culture, because that really will involve the people in the community. And I left time for actually questions.
That's perfect. It's perfect. Question for you. When you say you're certified in community engagement, what do you mean by that?
I basically was certified in community planning in a couple different ways, and so has Ben. I'm involved in the Heart and Soul process, which is a community engagement process by the Pennsylvania Humanities Council and Orton Foundation. And they all across the United States do a thing called community engagement. And it started with Orton, who was the Vermont magazine thing. And he wanted people to get involved in government and in their community. So he created a process with PHC, Pennsylvania Humanities Council. And they did a certification program where I went through the entire process with Upper Chichester. Okay, and they're still doing it, which is nice. And we got certified to actually plan and won an award. So also, Ben and I are certified in community and zoning planning for, it's called PMPEI, which is Planning Municipal Education Institute. I think, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. Were you about to say something before? I
No,
ask my
that
question?
covers it.
Okay, perfect.
I'm also certified urban planners too,
Oh, that's right.
AICP.
Perfect.
And we have lead folks and we have.
Nice. So outside, so I guess that was one of the questions I had. So before I get into the question, I will note that because I noticed the Boothwyn Town Center Vision Plan, talked to George Needles, he spoke very highly of your team, so that's great. George Needles is the township manager for those who don't know who he is. It's not, I'm guessing based off your answer right there, Ben, it's not just the three of you that are part of this. You guys have a whole other team. You guys would just be the core.
Yeah.
Four core team members that we know right now, but we have a larger team too, including very talented spatial analytics people and yes, and
Landscape architect.
landscape architects and.
Okay. With regards to, one of the frustrating things that I always deal with municipalities in my actual paying job, my profession, is not easily able to read maps, specifically for individuals like myself who are, colorblind, right? So I can see colors that are primary, but when it comes to the shades and stuff like that, that's where, and as a zoning attorney, it's a nightmare. So my assistant is my favorite person and she tells me which zoning district is which. Have you ever encountered moving away from that traditional kind of color, blurb, if you will, all over the place? And what are sort of the examples that you guys have done to start realizing, I mean, we can't keep putting these things up on the internet. We can't keep printing these things out for individuals who have a hard time seeing color. So how have you guys addressed that? And what would be your plan here?
Zoning maps are especially challenging. I actually joked about it when we put it. Your zoning map is uncommonly attractive because usually there's so many zoning characterization.
I said that about a lot of things in Newtown. But continue. I had to take it. No one else is going for it. I mean, come on.
Well, there's so many colors all over the place. So you do have to have careful labeling. You do have to have, we can really get into it. I've been a map maker for to do it right and to do it wrong. So yes, it's labeling and making sure that you have more than one way of labeling. Same time, always a challenge of putting in all the right information in without.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have an expert on our team, Catherine Cunningham,
Mhm.
who is a 508 certified, or I don't know if it's a certification. She's done the coursework recently, which is actually training in producing documents that are accessible in many different ways. And it's public documents online or printed. So she a very good eye, but she's tremendous. She's our whiz copy.
Do me a favor, your
narrative
answers are
also.
great, but just make sure you stay close to that podium
Oh,
for the
yes.
people that are watching this at home.
Absolutely.
Because you're giving good information. I just want to make sure that's being captured for those that are watching.
Also, there is a narrative. We can do that. We've done maps where you had narrative.
Yeah.
So where people can actually read it instead of look at it, and they have narrative and what townships, what's classifications, and some of the reasons for it.
And we prize in our narrative direct, simple, short, clear narratives.
Mhm.
You know, that's one thing that I
Mhm.
pride myself on, is keeping it simple.
Got it. The other question I had is, have you ever, because, looking at the highlighted scopes of work that you all have done, which are impressive, but just out of curiosity, have you ever done one, and it might not be that big of a deal, so take as much time you need to answer this, where you have a model like what we're trying to establish here today, where you have a comprehensive plan, but also a strategic plan, and kind of bringing those two together. Have you ever encountered that before, and kind of
Yeah.
what were those municipalities?
Yeah.
Terminology. I mean, there's different terminology. I won't.
Yeah, that's all right. No problem.
But sometimes it's just called a vision plan, and sometimes, and very often they're done together, but they're done as sort of an addendum or an appendix, or maybe the kickoff is the vision, maybe significant front section. And then you get down into action items that
We've done, okay.
talk about why, who is responsible for everything, why you're doing it, what is the anticipated timeline.
I've done one in Philadelphia also for Francisville, which is a regentrification, and that was a difficult one where we had to do it in phases. So we did the commercial corridor, and then we did, the business plan. And then, so yes, we've done, a lot of us have done multiple plans in one.
Got it. I just have two last questions. I know that the timeline originally had a kickoff meeting starting at April 14th. Obviously, we plan to
Yes.
hire whoever the person's going to be at our next supervisor meeting.
Mhm.
If you guys are selected, does that just bump it out a month? Like, where would that be start time for you guys?
That seems like right
That's
now.
right now.
Yeah, the earliest we would start, we would think conceivably would be a month from now, but we could be ready sooner if it were urgent and the township could facilitate it.
Got it.
Yeah, the one thing that Stephen said was in the summer, a lot of people go. So we did stack it in May, end of April, beginning of May, of the meetings for the focus groups and for some of the interviews.
Yeah.
So we want to get them before they leave.
Got it.
So
Yeah, we don't want to do
are
anything
doing-
in the summer.
Mhm.
That's definitely something the board wants to stay away from.
Okay.
And then the last question is for both of you to answer individually. What was the most difficult project you worked on, whether it had to do with the scope of work in which you were dealing with, or the individuals that you had to work with, meaning, resident pushback, so on and so forth. And
Developers.
And, without saying names, I mean, and how did you individually approach that? And it can be two different projects.
I was gonna say, does it have to be a planning project or
It
just
can
any
be
type of project?
related to a comprehensive plan, strategic plan. I know you guys have done stuff for Amtrak with the
Yeah.
corridor study, so the port, if you want to give us some updates on what's going on there. No,
Yeah.
I know that plan's not out yet.
Involved in something like that. I think one of the things that I've done in the past was Philadelphia. We did something in North Philadelphia, and I had all the different, yes, I know, Bart. I did all the different developers. I created a developers committee just for this particular plan. We had to do a plan for an actual building with the Economic Development Department for Philadelphia. Blumenfeld, and it was North Philadelphia corridor. And I think the biggest thing about that was politics. Of course, the politics is one of the main concerns. And you want to know how I handled it. I think the biggest thing, how we handled it, is that we had the businesses and the community members, the politicians, and also the planning department, which was really good, get together, and the zoning, get together and say, hey, we're here for Philadelphia. We're here to revitalize this area. And by working together, we're going to have to do it. You know, I mean, you have to put your egos aside, put your money aside, put everything aside, and really focus on what the reason is. You know, it's to revitalize the neighborhood, and we really need to do that. And, you know, it was really helping reduce crime, and I think that was a big part of it. So I think we had to put a plan together, and that was economic development plan.
I worked on the port project, the stakeholder engagement for that, and that was, it wasn't really contentious so much, but there were a lot of different overlapping interests. And it was also it was 2022, so we weren't meeting in person yet. So it was a lot of online meetings, using the mural tool in particular, with very structured conversations. But we used, I mean, it was for tenants and other constituents, the board, other planners across the city that had an interest in port activity, pilots themselves, the unions. So we had these structured meetings and, you know, a very well-researched structured program going into that, and very specific questions we wanted to get at. That went pretty well.
They might be reaching out, they might be doing some, with the national trends. I don't know if that's gonna affect the port, but, perfect. I have no further questions, if the board has any questions. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any follow-up questions, we're more than happy.
Appreciate it, thank you. Steven, you wanna get the next one?
Oh, good evening. Handouts. It's just a cover letter and a schedule. Thank you. It was good waiting out there because I bought one of your books. Thank you. Good. There's the library. Great. Glad they read it.
So when you're ready, whoever's gonna present, just go up to the podium. We do have individuals who are watching this on YouTube, and then we also have a board member who's virtual, so the microphone will only pick up if you're at the podium.
Great. Is this the,
As it's green, you're good.
this is the advance?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. All right.
Not that,
Yeah. we're not
Yeah,
there.
okay. Super. Well, thank you for your time. We're going to give you a very high-level presentation of the proposal. I hope you've had time to review it. We can't get into all the detail tonight in 15 minutes, but we're going to try to do this quickly so that we have time for some Q&A and discussion, hopefully. Next slide. My name is Peter Pennoni. I'm a landscape architect and planner. I'll be the project manager and the principal on the project. I've been working for way too long. Pennoni Collins, this is our 35th year in business. We've had the privilege of working in Newtown before. We worked here 25 years ago when Ellis Preserve was just an idea. We worked on land use and roads. We did the Garrett Williamson master plan a couple of years ago. And we also worked with Steve on the unbelievably controversial Newtown Meadows over near the Episcopal Academy. So we have some experience here. We also did a trail project. We were selected for the trail project that died a quick death. So we'd love to work back with you. I guess you guys are going to need to come up because we're going to switch around. PJ?
Hello, my name is Pankaj Brahmputra, or PJ for short. I'm a planner at Pennoni Collins. I've been there for about 10 years, In addition to comprehensive plans, I work on comprehensive recreation plans, master plans for sites, zoning ordinance revisions and reviews. We'll look at zoning ordinances, see if any changes need to be made to align with community values and goals and with comprehensive plans. Also do revitalization plans, connectivity studies, and Vision Zero action plans that we've been doing a lot of in the last couple of years. So that's what I do at my calls.
Hi, good evening. I'm Todd Poole. I'm Managing Principal and President of Forward Planning. We are land use economist, and we perform real estate and market studies for public and private sector clients nationally. And we do a lot of work here in the Commonwealth, a lot of comprehensive planning support, market studies, fiscal impact analyses. I've been in this field for about 33 years, the first 12 of which was in the public sector. Part of that was as an assistant city manager in the city of New Brunswick, New Jersey. The rest of it as an economic development professional, working from municipal level all the way up to a deputy policy director to the governor, where I oversaw housing and economic development policy. I have a master's degree in public administration, and I've done a number of strategic plans. So kind of looking forward to working on that and learning more about the
I should mention too, we're all three graduates of Rutgers University, so I think that's significant. Also, not with us tonight is Toby Levin from our office, who would work on the project if you retain us, and Albert Federico, who's a traffic engineer. Some of you may know him. When I talked to Steve, are there any big traffic issues? He said, probably not, but invariably on a comp plan, the number one issue that residents think about is traffic. So we brought him in with an allowance, and he can respond to things that come up during the process with the community. Our philosophy is sort of outlined here. I won't read all of these, but we try to do these things on every project we do. I mentioned this is our 35th year of service, and I guess that says something for our longevity, but also hopefully we're doing things right most of the time, and that's why we come back to communities over and over. Next. So you asked us in your invitation to do 4 things tonight. Understanding, tell us, or we should tell you our understanding of the project requirements, of course, our methodology, our qualifications, experience, engagement strategies, and ultimately why we think you should consider selecting our team. Next. So we understand the challenges of municipal governance and the most of the time thankless job all the Board of Supervisors has. It's a tough job. Somebody's always upset with you, even when you're trying to do the right thing. So we get that. Most of our clients are municipal clients. That's mostly who we work for. Townships, boroughs, counties. We're experts in the MPC and the applications of it. Often I'm brought in the municipalities when they get new planning commission members to tell them what they're supposed to do and what are the basics of zoning and planning and et cetera, because, we don't learn about that stuff, and we shouldn't expect people necessarily to know about it. Nobody teaches John Q. Public about planning and zoning. And the other thing, the other important requirement of this project is to work with residents and other stakeholders towards consensus. And we do that in a number of ways that we'll talk about, but in a plan like this, it's a little bit like sausage. You're never going to, it's putting pieces together. Not everyone's ever going to be totally happy, but we want to get a consensus of the community. We're always excited to work with Todd. When we have these opportunities, we try to call him first because he's so well known and does such a good job. So Todd's going to talk a little bit about the financial stuff that he'll be doing.
Right. Our firm does a lot of analyses involving whether it's performas or looking at budgets for organizations and understanding how goals and objectives align with budgets. I mean, a budget should basically support whatever goals and objectives you have. I've had an opportunity to review the existing strategic plan. And I think it's generally very good. However, it probably needs to be a little bit more precise, and the resources allotted to it, whether it's personnel resources or financial resources, need to be better aligned, with the strategic plan. My expertise in working on it, as I mentioned to you before, many moons ago, I worked as a public administrator, but also putting together budgets for different departments. So I understand what it is to be on your side of the table of the dais. So I bring that expertise. We also perform fiscal impact analyses and financial feasibility analysis as a developer might. We work for a number of developers, so we kind of work both sides of the street. And so we have a good understanding of the implications of development. We're, going to be working on both your strategic plan, but also working on the portion of the comprehensive plan that involves economic development, which is my expertise. So having a financial background and an understanding of, how projects are viable, I think is very important. And more particularly because we do work for developers as well. We understand how they think about projects and what's required to get, in your particular case or your interest, and commercial projects being developed. And you have underutilized office buildings, which are probably not, going to be viable. They're probably class B and C spaces, but office space generally does not get developed easily because it was designed for a different purpose. So we have to look at it for adaptive reuse and what is market receptive for that reuse. And so that's where we come in.
Next slide, Steve. So our understanding of e-commerce retail trends is key, and that's where Todd keeps our feet to the ground and based in reality, because sometimes planners can go off, but he's our reality check. Also, another requirement is to understand what your community values are, because a comp plan is ultimately a statement of community values. You can take everything in there and just say, this is the values that this community holds dear, and these are the things that are important to the people who live here. So we have to listen to that. I mean, the best compliment we get at the end of a project is, gee, you guys really listened, because it comes out in the plan, and that's key, listening. And our job is to listen. Not every comment's going to be a winner, but our job is to distill that with our knowledge and expertise and experience and come up with a plan that gets consensus approval. Graphic presentation is very important. If you go back a slide, Steve, you went ahead too fast there. The figure on the right there is our vision plan for West Conshohocken. Probably didn't even know West Conshohocken existed. There's a Conshohocken and West Conshohocken. That's an easy to understand graphic. You don't have to be technical in anything, and you can understand all the stuff we're talking about there. And that was a way we communicated that. And we pride ourselves with a graphic presentation to convey those ideas. And also, as I mentioned, we work with a broad range of municipalities.
Thank you, Pete. Now, looking at our methodology, so it's a linear process, and it's clearly defined with recognizable deliverables and milestones. So as we go through each step, each component of the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, looking at existing conditions, looking at our analysis of housing, of transportation, of economic development, we'll have those ready to go. And it's an iterative process where we have our next meetings with the project stakeholders, with the community, with the public. We'll present our findings, we'll present what we heard, and we'll get that feedback, the important feedback from the community, from the stakeholders, to see what they think, to see what changes need to be made. And we'll refine that, and we'll come back again, go through the iterative process of looking at the different components of the plan and make the presentation at the next meeting. Now, in addition to that, as part of our public participation that Pete's getting into later, we're gonna have a survey, an online survey. And as we go through each meeting, we'll update the public and the stakeholders on that up-to-date survey results. Everyone's on the same page of what the community feels and thinks we need for the comprehensive plan. In our meetings, we also include Planning 101 educational segments in our meetings. So again, as Pete mentioned, we don't expect people to understand the MPC, the intricacies of the comp plan, the components of the comp plan. When we hit the ground running, we want to make sure people understand, hey, this is what a comprehensive plan is. This is why it's important for your community. This is what the MPC is. This is what a strategic plan is. So everyone has that educational background, and they know going in to have that confidence in what this plan is and what it means for their community. Also, in addition to the Planning 101, we want to educate and communicate why these plans are important. And the comprehensive plan is the legal basis for any changes in zoning in the CELDO. So we have to have that foundation of what the community values are before we can go ahead and make any changes to zoning. It also makes the community more proactive rather than reactive. You're not reacting to market conditions. You're setting the stage for what you want to see in your community as part of the comprehensive plan. You're listing out those goals. You're listing out, hey, here are the recommendations. Here's what we want to implement. And then you make those changes. So you're not reacting to any sort of changes because everyone knows what's there in the comprehensive plan. You also want to articulate a vision, an overall vision for the community, How does it relate to people's lives? You know, it's not jargon. It's a very aspirational statement. It's the vision for what the community sees for itself. You know, for example, it could be a thriving community that has measured growth, where we want to preserve our natural resources, preserve our heritage, and our community values. So it's that very personal spirit. It's a very personal statement that sets the foundation for the comprehensive plan that's important to the community. We want to work off of that. We want to make implementation of both plans accountable with clear metrics for performance measures. How many acres of open space are saved? How many new businesses happen? Again, we don't want this to sit on the shelf. This is a living, breathing document. We're going to have information on who are the funding sources, who are potential partners that we can work with to make sure that these recommendations aren't just stoic or static. They go through the next step in making them implementable in the community. When we look at our qualifications and experience, ideally, as Pete mentioned, we have a lot of experience here in the township working with the Newtown Preserve, the Garrett Williamson site, and also the Newtown Center. And also in Delaware County itself, we just completed the comprehensive plan and the park and open space plan for Bethel Township, so then in Delaware County. So we have vast experience in the county. We're also experienced with comp and strategic plans in general with a variety of municipalities. I'm going to touch on those in the next couple of slides. In addition to the comprehensive plan, we'll also work on those separate park plans that are important as well, like comprehensive recreation open space plans, connectivity plans, where we can go deeper into recommendations. So with the recreation open space plan, we'll say, hey, look, here's your park system. How are we going to measure that in terms of the national metrics? What are we going to measure it against to make sure you're providing the best resources for your current and future populations? So we'll benchmark that against some communities of similar size and also national standards. So we know you're providing the best recreational resources for your community. Same with connectivity plans. We'll go into a deep dive with stakeholders, with the traffic engineer and with other community members to make sure that wherever your connection gaps are, we're addressing those. So every neighborhood, every area of the township is connected. So that's where we go in deeper with those plans. Also, again, as mentioned with the comprehensive plan itself, experiencing writing zoning and SELDA ordinances. So again, the comprehensive plan lends to that credence, it's that foundational aspect. And from that, we can adapt zoning and SELDA. So if the comprehensive plan has recommendations for new uses, we can introduce those new uses and definitions in zoning. If the recommendations for any sort of new mixed use or overlays, they can go right into zoning. If we're talking about maintaining a neighborhood character or enhancing a character, that can go into design guidelines and SALDO. So again, we have that framework in the comp plan and we can transfer it over into zoning and SALDO. We're also experienced in preparing construction documents and providing those construction administration services. So again, you're going to the next step. You're going from the plan to a master plan for a site to those CDs. So making sure that, you know, one process follows another and you have those detailed descriptions and documents to make these recommendations a reality for your community. And again, just touching on, again, the different municipalities we've done comprehensive plans for. They range from more dense, higher dense areas like Towminson, like Hamden, to cities like Reading. We did a comprehensive plan for one of the neighborhoods in Reading, and we're also doing a comprehensive recreation open space plan right now for the entire nationally recognized park system. We also worked in more rural communities like Bethel Township in southern Delaware County, and also a couple communities in York County, Carroll Township and Dillsborough Borough. You know, these are communities surrounded by great open space, by natural wonders and resources right on the Susquehanna River. And they wanted to update their comp plan to make sure they were able to meet the changing demands of the 21st century. So again, a range of municipalities from small to large. Again, more municipalities here. For Woodpin Township, we did a comp plan 10 years ago, and we just recently updated that specifically based on the feasibility and the potential of adaptive reusing office buildings for additional residential space. So that was a very concentrated update for the Woodpin plan. We also did plans for 2 bookend communities in Pike County and the Delaware Water Gap, Lain Township and Milford Borough. These are communities that are experiencing change as people come in from different areas to recreate, but they also want to maintain their own community characters. So this was an interesting plan where we looked at these 2 bookend communities in Pike County and also communities like Media Borough, Limerick Township that are also seeing their own specific changes as they move forward.
I just want to mention too, and I forgot to, that my firm did the economic strategic plan for, the economic strategic plan for Kennett Square Borough and Kennett Township. We did that for them a few years ago. They're still operating against that strategic plan that we did for them. So
just to wrap up, engagement strategies, there's no magic bullet. You know, you have to put in the work. You have to listen to people. You have to make time outside of meetings to talk to people. as I'm sure you do, in this position. Also, everyone wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be listened to. I don't care who you are. I want to be listened to if I go to my township. So we have a mantra. We say all voices are heard and all ideas are honored. And how we do that at brainstorming sessions, we write everybody's idea down, even if I think it's a crazy idea, it goes up on the wall. So people know they're being listened to. And it goes a long way. It's old school. It's very, hands-on, but I think it really helps. Next. Also, we like to say we're as available to the Board of Supervisors, or we're as available to John Citizen as we are to the board. And I'll give people my cell phone. They can email me. We can do a virtual meeting with them if they want to talk away from the meeting, especially if they're complaining about something. Because that time I spend with a person, and I'll just probably badly characterize them as a naysayer, that's really good time for us to spend, because often people who are negative about something hold our feet to the fire and make us go an extra yard and really look at something more deeply than maybe we would have. So we think that's very important. Next is just our list of meetings that we have put in the RFP or in our proposal. This is the whole proposal is our best guess of what you want. If you pick our firm, the first thing we would do is sit down with Steve and others and make sure we're on the same page with the scope. I mean, we're working within a framework of X number of hours. So we certainly are open to revising things to better suit you. So just to close up, I think we've given you some reasons to consider picking our team, and we'll be happy to try to answer questions that you have. Thank you.
Great. Any questions from the board? So I just have a couple of them. The one graph that you showed with regards to how you guys are presenting data to people, right? So I asked the same question to your competitors, if you will. I think that we rely on some old antiquated maps, right? Whether it's a zoning map or anything. Municipalities aren't really lighting the world on fire with regards to providing those or those data points to the residents. So I kind of like what you had there. But how do you differentiate that for individuals who are, colorblind, right? So, we're providing these things in booklet forms, we're providing them on the internet, but if they're having difficulties with color blindness, how are you showing that information to make sure that that segment of the population has it as well? And have you ever encountered that?
That's the first time in 40+ years that anyone's ever asked me that question. So that's a great question. We try to have on our charts just raw numbers. And maybe we'll think that one through better. We can put patterns on these colors. So somebody's colorblind. I think it's a great observation.
Okay. The second question has to do with the I'm sorry, I've got to flip through here, but to the Todd, with regard to the pro formas. So kind of walk me through, why would we, and maybe I'm thinking about it incorrectly, but why would we do those pro formas for, like walk me through, so I'm a zoning attorney. I understand pro formas. I understand why, with regards to the real estate process, why we do them and what they're needed for. But why would we be doing the work for the landowner and or developer? Am I thinking of it wrong based on how you have those written and how you explain that? Like, why is that important for us to do?
So, okay, so in the purpose of the pro forma that we might do in a study like this, we might need to understand what the developer would need in terms of, a zoning that's appropriate for the project, right? And the only way to find that out is to model it out as a developer would in a, financial pro forma. In other words, when I do projects for developers, and I realize it's not penciling out, right? Usually it's because of density or because, there's an inordinate amount of parking required or something. And the reason I know that is because it's not penciling out, right? I'm putting the pro forma together to figure that out. Not necessarily that I'm doing it for this project. It just depends on where we end up on looking at development. But it's a useful tool to know, because here's the thing. I've worked for plenty of municipalities that have zoned without, any thought towards what is market receptive, what is financially viable. Right? When somebody says the term highest and best use, most people don't even know what that means. There's 4 tenets that have to be satisfied. It's got to be, physically possible. So you can't build in a marsh or on the side of a cliff. It has to be legally permissible, right? Usually that's the zoning part. And then there's the two pieces I work on, which is it's got to be market receptive and financially remunerative, which is basically, can a developer or project sponsor make money, right? So those four things. I can tell you, because I've been doing this for 33 years, most municipalities don't take that into consideration. So for, for the comp plan purpose, in some cases, we might model out something.
But I think too, the focus on Todd's work on the pro forma would be from the municipality's perspective.
Yes.
What is the earned income tax? What's the benefit to the school district? What are those benefits? Steve asked us to focus economic development plan on the properties, the older properties, where Casey's is and St. Albans Circle in that area that are likely to get redeveloped. So we'll work with you and come up with, a couple scenarios, and Todd can run numbers on those.
And that's the fiscal impact piece of it.
Yeah,
Which-
and then,
yeah.
based upon that, we can make a recommendation in the comp plan where you might consider this type of zoning to encourage these types of uses. I mean, we know it's gonna be commercial, but, should it be a mixed-use overlay district? Should it be a higher density? All those questions we can start to answer at least.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. With regards to the comments that were made with looking at the zoning ordinances and suggesting potential changes, you guys would just suggest changes. You guys aren't actually drafting the ordinances, I'm guessing, correct?
Correct, and yes, that's correct. And actually working with a bunch of attorneys, many of them told us it's
Sorry about
appropriate.
that. Sorry about that.
No, it's been great learning the process of attorneys. Methodical, right? Which is always very interesting, but we've been advised oftentimes, we don't want to get too far in the comp plan with recommending the zoning because that's not appropriate for a comp plan, right? That's a whole separate process, whole separate hearings, as you know better than anyone. So we just get to a point where we get the color of it stated so everybody understands what the direction is.
Okay, all right. I'll ask this question. So, and you guys did a good job of parsing it out when you were speaking about it. There are individuals in the community who don't have a positive view of that Ellis Preserve Center up there, right? You started off with how you worked on it there. What if I encountered someone who said, you hired the individual who, in their potential words, again, not mine, ruined our community? Now, look, I get it. As a lawyer, we have to represent our clients and we represent our clients the best way we can. I think it gives you a unique perspective, but how would you counter that if you have a room full of people here who are starting for the first kickoff and they say, wait, you're the one who did the Ellis Preserve?
Well, first of all, we didn't do it. We worked for the township on that project.
Oh.
And we weren't working for the developer. We talked to the developer and we were really working on land use and roadway patterns to try to disperse traffic from the main intersection. And we went through a process over a couple of years with a different board, different attorney, different manager. And we got to a point and then gave the township some advice. Not all of it was taken. And that's fine. Our job is just to give you our best advice. And then the township started working with the developer. And then there was, I can't remember the specifics, there was some court proceeding and things got settled. If somebody doesn't think it's a good development, that's their opinion. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I'm not gonna argue the point.
No, you don't even need to defend it anymore because I didn't know that you guys were on the other side of it. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
you were actually working for you.
I was in high school when that was approved, so
I
Yeah,
think
me
you're proud of
too.
middle school.
middle school, yeah. The last question I say last question, just because I asked the other ones too. Well, actually, before I ask that, your involvement here in Newtown Township, what have you seen, in those different projects, whether it's the one we just discussed with regards to the Equus development? What do you see high level as kind of the challenges here?
I think, the trail project's a good example that we started to work on. That was the trolley thing down past Greer Park. I mean, I thought that's a good thing, and I think a lot of people were for it, and people who live nearby it didn't like it, which is a normal reaction. And and this is not particular to your community, but it's every community, trying to convince people what the long-range vision is and what the long-range benefit is, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
And you may deal with some connectivity things. You may deal with some ideas about preserving some open space. You've got great resources here. You're gonna be in the spotlight in a couple of years with the golf tournament being here. So it's a chance to really highlight the community, the benefits. I mean, one of the things with the office park is, you know, the office market, it's tanking. How do you attract other businesses here? What are the reasons somebody would come and, let's say, do an entertainment complex in that office park, which might be better than a warehouse? Is there a market for a data center there? I don't know enough about data centers to even give you an opinion on that, but maybe that's something we research. Or is there a business or an enterprise you want to go out and recruit? I always love telling a story about the mayor of Media who went out and recruited Trader Joe's to come to the Armory. They didn't just show up. They said, we want you in this building and we'll do what you want. So maybe that's a result of the comp plan. The other thing with the comp plan is it all doesn't have to be done by the municipality. You may find very willing partners in the private sector who want to accomplish something, and it may align with your goals. And so it's working with all partners to try to do those things. But I think we see the challenges are similar, right, in all communities. It's just people don't like change. As human beings, we don't like change.
So my last question is, you talked about, letting people know what the long-term benefit is. How do you get them to that moment?
I think case studies showing what has happened in other places is usually the best way to do that. And it's relatively easy to do that today with the internet. PJ and I have been working on zoning in the city of Reading over the last year. And people in our profession tend to be generous with their time, I'm happy to say. So we had meetings, virtual meetings with planners in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and a whole bunch of cities about their TOD zoning. So we could go back to Reading and say, this is what they did here, here, and here. And they gave us really great information that we've used. So you can do case studies and, just show people like, this is not what we did. This is what somebody else did. And this was the benefit. So that's really the best way to do it. And, show by example, I guess.
Any questions from the board? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, we'll move down to section 10 reports from the Township Engineer, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. Just a quick update on a few projects. The Water's Edge Stormwater Project, which is divert water around the community, is substantially complete. And actually, this past rain events that we had last week, it was working quite well and diverting the water around and away from the community. The Upper St. Albans Stormwater Project is well underway last week. And the contractor is making good progress, and they'll be working on that project for the next few weeks. Everything's going smoothly so far. And then as far as some other projects coming up later in the agenda, we're seeking to go out to bid this week for the roads program for Earls Lane, Palm Mill Road, Sugar Maple Drive, and Aspen Drive for consideration next month.
So Eric, so the stormwater management, the stormwater projects that you just said that are, that are almost on this is like our 5th or 6th project?
Correct. This is over the last, about this time last year until now, I believe this is the 4th and 5th, 3rd or 4th project that was in construction at this point over the last year.
Well, Glendale, was that
I'm sorry, yes. So you're correct. It was Glendale, and then we did that joint contract, which was at 3 different locations. And then this is the next 2 projects. So really, over the course of last year, we have done stormwater projects in 6 different locations throughout the township.
And they've been in different areas.
Correct.
So
They've been divided. We kind of, when we started working on these projects, we kind of looked at the township-wide issues and identified a diverse spread of
we had that survey that.
Correct. This was the most, like, for the amount of funding we had, we took and spread to the most useful locations across the township.
It's been impactful. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the Township Engineer? All right, report from the Township Manager, Mr. Neese.
Yes, I just have a quick update on Gable Field and the progress we're making out there. It's been slowed down a little bit because of the rain. We can, I'm gonna say, the field, the carpet, what they call it, is down. They're working on putting up the last of the fence poles for the netting that's gonna go across the back, doing some of that. They're putting down, there's rubber that goes into the field, the little pebbles of rubber that allow the ball to bounce like it's a regular grass field. That's the challenge. That can't go in if it's too wet. It doesn't spread right. And so far they were able to do a pretty good day today of spreading it. They're hoping that tomorrow they can do some more, although I think we're supposed to get a little bit more rain tonight, which may impact us. And then they'll come back and do there's some new rubber that goes right on top, do that. They recycled all the old rubber out of the old field, or at least most of it. And so, we are hoping, if the weather's permitting, that will be done by this weekend. We do have an inspection that needs to be done by Rich and George, and hopefully myself, and testing on the bounce of the field to make sure that it bounces right, so that we don't get somebody hurt with a ball being hit and those kind of things. So we're moving in that direction.
And to be clear, Rich and Al, not Rich Sikora.
Rich, Enow. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, not this Rich, I'm sorry.
Full service solicitor. Yeah. Yeah, full service solicitor, yeah. Yeah, okay. Perfect. Any other questions for the township manager? Wanted to make sure we were clear on that one. Section 11, payments 11.1. Can I get a motion to approve payment application number 2 totaling $479,730.60 from Miller Sports Construction associated with the Gable Field Turf Replacement Project as approved by the township staff, leaving a remaining balance of $127,861.40.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Russo. No, that's not right. Supervisor San Francisco. Yeah, yeah. So a motion was made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. You guys just look so similar. I just, get you confused. 11.2, can I get a motion approving certificate payment request number 1 totaling $51,878.55 for Charles A. Higgins and Sons Incorporated associated with the Gradyville Road and Goshen Road speed feedback signs as approved by the township engineer, leaving a remaining balance of $18,840.45.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor San Francisco, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap. Is there any board discussion?
Is the Goshen Road sign, are they not installed yet?
Goshen
or-
Road was just, the pole was installed last week. It's
Okay.
just east of Earl's Lane.
Okay, yeah, because I haven't seen it, because I'm sure.
Right, there, yeah,
they're.
there-
Because I go that way 100
I don't
times a
think the
day.
electrics turn on.
And as far as, yeah, the pole was installed. The electric line is the last thing that has to be connected to the pole.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 11.3, can I get a motion approving the contract change order number 1 in the amount of $9,984.50 for additional grading and clearing in addition to a certificate for payment request number 3 totaling $27,015.16 from Miller Soil Solutions LLC associated with the Water's Edge Stormwater Improvements as approved by the township engineer, leaving a remaining balance of $14,052.46.
I'll move.
Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 12, bills. I've reviewed the bills and I'll make a motion approving the bills on check register A dated April 14th, 2025, totaling $1,029,015.05. Motion was made by the chair, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 13, new business 13.1. Can I get a motion approving the resignation of Tom Greco from the Municipal Authority Board effective immediately?
So moved.
Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion? Just want to thank Tom on behalf of the board for his service to the community on the municipal authority, and we wish him well. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. 13.2, consider approving the following appointment to the Municipal Authority Board as follows. Supervisor Chandless.
Yes, I'd like to consider approving the appointment of Kevin Moyer to the Municipal Authority Board.
Is there a second? Motion was made by Supervisor Chandless, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion? Supervisor Chandless, you conducted an interview of Mr. Moyer.
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yep. He's very qualified and very excited.
Perfect. Any other board comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those.
Aye.
Motion carries. So Steve, the township should have his contact information, but we'll double check to make sure that you guys have it, because I know they have a meeting coming up on Monday.
Yes, they do.
Section, 13.3. Can I get a motion approving the advertising of bids for the joint Newtown Township, Springfield Township, and Swarthmore Borough 2025 road program? Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Russo. Is there any board discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 13.4. We get a motion approving the pay to the assigned public works employee a 10% workout of class differential for any hours worked beyond the first 40 hours as the acting public works supervisor. Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor San Francisco. Is there any board discussion? Mr. Neese, do you just want to explain this?
Yeah, so occasionally our public works supervisor, that's not our director's George, our public works supervisor's Harry. And so occasionally Harry's out for a period of time beyond just a week. And so we have a township employee step in and fill in doing his role. And the significance of that is they become the person who's on call first. They take the cell phone that Harry normally carries. They take that. They take the truck home. So they're usually that first responder in. They're the ones that determine what the need is that needs to be accomplished along with George. And so it's really key when, particularly if George is unable to do some things as he's recovering as well from surgery he had. And so we're trying to make sure we have good coverage for the township all the way through. And this is just compensating that person for the extra effort that they're having to put forward for the hours they work and the extra responsibility they have. And this would be something that would be ongoing. If George made a decision to put somebody else in place, that's why we didn't list a name, because it could be somebody different depending on how long the supervisor's out.
Right, because sometimes like people don't realize if a tree comes down across the road, someone's got to go, somebody's got to go out and kind of assess it.
I had a situation the other day. I was driving down the road on Gradyville. A tree came down right in front of me. I saw it come down, and
Scary.
I was able to make a phone call, and within a short period of time, Harry was there and removing the tree. So this person would be doing that action, and it didn't mean calling everybody in. We were able to have a person come in, take care of it.
Yeah, those are the things that I don't think people
Most people don't even
realize
know.
that
This
that's
happens
what
all the
happens.
time in the
Yep.
township, and it's
Yep.
just taken care of.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Section 14 ordinances 14.1. I get a motion approving ordinance 2025-01, an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Newtown, Chapter 112, Parks and Recreation Areas by deleting the existing Chapter 112 and replacing it with a new Chapter 112, adding a definition section, clarifying and adding certain restrictions and regulations in township parks or recreation areas, and adding language for the violations and penalties section.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap, seconded by Supervisor Chandless. Is there any board discussion?
This was advertised, right? This is what we approved.
You approved advertising. At the last meeting, it was advertised on April 7th in the Delaware County Times.
Okay.
You want to add any flavor to this?
This was just there was a couple issues that had been arising in township parks that weren't addressed in our code. The township manager had asked me to take a look at that and address that in ordinance. When I read the existing code, there just seemed to be outdated. There was a lot of things happening in parks and devices that are being used in parks that weren't addressed, so I started to just rewrite the whole thing. And then, in the meantime, the turf field project came about, and there was a ton of manufacturer recommendations and recommended restrictions on the use of the turf. They said to preserve its life. It's a very expensive project, so we incorporated all that in. So it's generally a series of regulations on the use of our trails and parks and fields and courts to protect them.
Any questions for Mr. Sikora? Any additional any additional board comment? Wade, you're here. I'll give you the opportunity. You want to add anything?
Yes. Yes, meaning like no parking in the parks overnight.
Yes.
Parking in any parking lot associated with the facilities are restricted to operation hours of the parks, which are dawn to dusk unless there's a special permit by the township.
Yes.
We do recognize that some of the parks are used at night, but like the great events that you guys hold, but you guys coordinate that through the township manager.
Yes, we get permission, yes.
Yes. And so you're only allowed to park in the park if you're there to use the park. It's not for, residential or commercial use.
So will we add signs to some of those parks so that the residents know?
Yes, we'll do that. We want to be careful. We don't want to overdo our parks, but where we think it would be beneficial, we will do that so that
Okay.
people know.
All right, thank you.
I'll just note for the record that Wade is the chair of the Parks and Rec Committee. So thank you, Wade. Any other board comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Section 15, board comment. Do any board members have any comment that they wish to provide? Seeing none, we'll move down to section 16, public comment. Wade, do you have any public comment you'd like to provide? Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.